Well, let me start by saying I'm delighted to be here. I'm proud to be invited. It's something special to be standing in a wet, muddy field. And I just want to start by talking a little bit about connectivity. I'm very much connected with Laura, who was our opening speaker. The very first thing she said was, as a US citizen, she'd had to come to terms with self-deprecation. And how much of a UK. I'm very much into the self-deprecating form of humour. I'm just not very good at it. So, and I'd just like to say how much I enjoyed the feral singing yesterday. One or two of you didn't enjoy it. I noticed, I saw you. But because I'm from Scotland, we're used to that sort of thing, feral singing. We call it drunkenness. We also do feral moving, and we call that dancing. Now, this morning, I had a choir arrive at my tent. I don't know who they are, but you know who you are. At 25 minutes past 5, they were singing, "Get up, it's time to go canoeing." I sang back, get stuffed, there's no chance I'm going canoeing. Anyway, so what I want to do for you is I want to just share, it's a very personal story. This is the 1061st presentation I've done around learning and my model of learning. And I get nervous every time. And I always ask myself, well, why do you get nervous, Alistair? What is that about? What's going on? And the only conclusion I've been able to reach is that it's because it matters. It's because it matters. And I think the thing that comes through from what I've heard of people in the last day and a half is the authenticity. So I'm hoping to be able to deliver something for you around this topic. And I'm going to try and put it in context, and I want you to go away with a model for your own learning. So that you can take it and adapt it, customize it, make it your own, for those that you teach or work with, and then for your organization. So you can take these things away, and do keep in touch. I'll put details up at the end. So a little bit of context. Yesterday we had a little bit about punching your message through in the velvet glove of emotion. And sometimes it's useful, I think, if you want change, to get a little bit angry. And so here's the context for me, then and now. I want to talk about what it was like for me coming up through school and education system, and what I experience of it now. And I spend a lot of time looking at education. 2/3 of my work is in education, the rest is in professional sport. So I spend a lot of time looking at performance, and I'm concerned about then and now. So why would I be bothered being interested in this? Why in 1996 would I take the time to give up a job I had in order to promote a model of learning and try and be proselytize about that model of learning so as many people as possible could take it, adapt it, and make it work for students? Well, there was a bit of residual with me. And I suppose it started back then. This is my report card from 1968. This is also my report card from 1968. And it's much like any other at the time, and I was from a small town in Scotland, 2,500 population, 180 pupils in the school. We were in the school for 7 years, and the headmaster spelt my name wrong. He spelt my name wrong. And I thought, whoa, not too happy about this, not too happy about this. And that was the beginning of an experience of not really being noticed, and not really getting the most out of what I thought I should be getting a lot out of. So here we are at school. Now imagine the conversation between the head teacher and the photographer. The head teacher says, "What I'd like you to do, Hamish, search the school. See if you can find a location so that in years to come when the children look at their photographs, they can look back with some pride." Now Hamish, if it's within your gift, lad, if it's within your gift, do you think you could get a pipe to come out the top of Alistair's head? Then and now. My dad went to the same school. Same pipes. And look at the wellies. Yeah, uniform, sponsored by Oxfam. And my grandfather went to the same school. That's his class, except he's not in it because he never went that day. So, and I'm intrigued about this, because that was then, this is now, and I'm wondering, well, what are the differences? What are the differences? And I just want to relate to you a story that captures some of the difference between then and now. I don't know why you're laughing. This is serious stuff. This is the theme tune to a program that ran in the United Kingdom from 1964 to 1972. Right? 8 years. Right? It was called Vision On. And for those of you who are not from this country, it represented leading edge children's television. It was the best there was. And what would happen is, on a Thursday night for 20 minutes, you'd sit enthralled up in your wee house in Scotland, and you'd have a rediffusion television that was encased in mahogany. It gave off so much heat you had to hide behind the sofa. If it broke down, your dad would fix it. He had a box of valves under the stairs. And what you did was, you did a wee drawing or a painting, and then you sent it off to Television House in London. And then someone would choose it for the gallery, if you were lucky enough. And you'd wait, and you'd wait, and you'd wait. And it was a bit like our education system at the time. Everyone got the same thing at the same time, in the same way. It wasn't differentiated, not personalised to any degree. And what would happen on a Thursday night, about 5:20, the gallery would come on. And for about 10 minutes, a single camera would pan slowly round. And you'd sit transfixed. Leading edge, interactive children's technology of the day. Now, it was hosted by a guy called Tony Hart. January the 17th, 2009, Tony Hart died. 2 days before, in New York, an airplane took off from LaGuardia Airport. It was an Airbus A320, it had 155 people on board. It got to 3,200 feet above one of the world's wealthiest, most densely populated cities, and it had a double bird strike. Bang, bang, both engines out, both engines out. Now, what happened then was, the pilot, Chesley Schellenberger, reports in, I have no power, I'm taking it down. LaGuardia come back, divert, divert, we've freed Kennedy, I'm taking it down. He lands it on the Hudson River. Bang, 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 into the water, slowly sinks. Everyone out safely onto the wings. There's 70 tons of aviation fuel in the back. He's the last, chest deep down, in icy water, the last down the cabin, making sure that everyone's out safe. As it happens, that day, there's a guy going by on the ferry with one of these. He's a microblogger, he's on Twitter. He takes images. Before the Port Authority helicopter can get to the plane, 3 minutes 59 seconds, these images have gone all around the world. In less than 50 years, we've gone from Twitter, we've gone from Vision On to Twitter On. Vision On to Twitter, and that's the difference. Now, teachers, educators stand on the cusp of this. This is the most exciting time to be an educator. You stand right here on the cusp of it. Yesterday, a classic representation. Stick making, robot making. And Zach said, I love living in the future. Awesome. So, that was unintended, by the way. But there is a rule. If you're having a good time, let your faces know. Yeah. If you're not having a good time, let the organisers know. There we are. Now, this is the challenge. I visit lots and lots of schools. I did a book earlier this year, The Secrets of Successful Schools. I visited the top 20 high-performing, maintained, non-selective state schools, secondary, right? And they're all towing youngsters through the water. They're all force-feeding at 15 and 16 because you do not trade on qualifications. Those qualifications change children's lives. So this is key. But at the same time, we have a higher dropout rate in higher education than ever before. We have high visits to health centres with stress-related illnesses among students, and the NEETs, the people who are not in education, employment or training, 24%, 16 to 24-year-olds. Yeah, so something's not right. Something's not right. So this anger that persisted then remains to some degree. And what I want to offer you is a model for learning that I think has an opportunity to play a part in transforming the lives of children that you work with, young adults you work with, or in your organisations. So how do you do it? How do you go about doing it? I think the way to do it, and the way I set about doing it back in 1996 was like this. First thing you have to do is realise that you need to encourage people to get out of the edge of their comfort zone. Can I borrow you to help me just for a second, please? 15 minutes of fame we all get. Here you are. You stand there. I'm going to demonstrate something. I want you just to stay there. I'm going to walk towards you. I want you to tell me when you feel that I am getting too close. Okay. All right? Now, it's not an intellectual exercise. I'm an osteopath. Okay, is there anyone else who'd like to? It's an emotional thing, right? Okay, we'll be fine. Okay, okay there? Yeah. All right, don't look quite so enthusiastic. Right? All right, I'll shuffle in. You tell me when you feel that emotion, right? Anytime you like. That's okay there, yeah. Perfect, thank you very much. Right, so you might be thinking, well, what's that got to do with it? It's a comfort zone. And the challenge is to get people to the edge of their comfort zone. Genuine learning involves negotiating risk. Many learners, they will happily copy up in rough, they'll happily copy it up in neat, they'll do your coloured border around it, they'll highlight the keywords in primary colours, they'll do your picture. Safe. And you see the equivalent in organisations. Safe, predictable. We talked yesterday about eccentricity. We talked yesterday about the sorts of comfort zones that people get in. So your challenge, my challenge, was to persuade people that this journey is worthwhile. Sell the benefits. Sell the benefits. Landmark the journey. Provide challenge and support along the way. So those were the sorts of things. Now, have a model. To deliver great learning which will endure, identify the principles first. What are great learners doing when they learn effectively? What principles underpin and shape any human learning? Next, take those principles and organise them into activities and then give the activities coherence. So order them, structure them, in order to help you deliver the outcomes you wish. So for me, it's about taking principles of learning, organising them in a learning cycle, which I'll share with you, and then finally doing so in order to deliver outcomes which will help children prepare for the challenges of the Twitter age. So, principles. Desmond Nuttall, New Zealand-based researcher, suggested that in a classroom environment, about 40% of what is about to be taught is already known. So a good starting point, well, what do we know about this? What would be good to know about this? Let's unlock what's there, rather than assuming we're all at the same starting point. Share a strong sense of purpose. Content, process, benefits. This is what we'll learn. Here's how and here's why. Content, process, benefits. What, how, why. Actively engage. Huge raging debate that's unresolved around learning styles. Active involvement involves the youngsters doing things other than sitting there being biddable. When you ask 4-year-olds in primary schools, what do you do when you learn really very well? They say first thing they do is they'll put their hands up. Now, where did they learn to put their hands up? Right, we're going to hear from a radical midwife soon. I want to know if we're genetically predetermined to put our hands up, you know? And is it there from the earliest? So you ask them, what do you do when you learn really very well? They'll put their hands up. They say, you listen, you sit still, you're nice to each other. So from the earliest, we're encouraging youngsters to be biddable. They don't say, well, you ask really great questions. You've got to be curious. You've got to really want to know. You've got to collaborate and help each other. So we need to actively engage. Space deliberate practice. To get better, don't binge learn. A little and often. Rehearse, revisit. Rehearse, revisit. Yes? It was mentioned yesterday about fail better, fail more. But see it as this deliberate practice, to see it as a learning opportunity. Have a big sign in your workplace. Getting stuck is not a problem. Staying stuck is. Good learners practice getting unstuck, and here's how. Turn it round. Praise for progress, don't praise for perfection. Yes? Landmark the journey. Loop meaningful feedback. In order to get better, I need to know how. So waiting to the end of a unit, no use. Got to get the feedback as we go. And a very powerful feedback, peer feedback. Encourage the deep questions. Pattern recognition. Humans are pattern makers and pattern seekers. We chunk information down. We do it habitually. We do it consciously and unconsciously. Each and every one of us has got a telephone number. Yes? You buy something over the phone. The person at the other end repeats your telephone number back to you. If they don't chunk it like you've chunked it, it's as though you've never heard it before in your life. Hello, what? Yes, just a minute. I'll get a pen. I'll write it down. Yes. Yes, that would have seemed to be the number. Provide real-world transfer. Our schools organise information in silos. We deliver it in chunks, 45, 50 minutes at a time. You don't get a chance to trial it and test it out in authentic or real environments. So, I want our youngsters to move from performing, for where they follow instructors, they must get it right, to learning. Here there's high levels of autonomy. Teacher dependent, learner dependent. Dependency, independency. This is what I'm advocating. This is what I'm trying to get education systems to do more of. Move this way. Sometimes to get those GCSEs, etc., you have to do this. But at some point, we have to do more of that. The performing emphasis, the learning. This is the same slide. So, coherence. What does it look like? We have a psychological contract. This is the relationships. We have a physiological contract. If you sat down in here for too long, your attention goes. Your ability to focus on one set of stimuli, limited. So we need to recognise the physiological needs of the learners. In some schools in the afternoons, children are full of artificial colourings, flavourings, preservatives, things that begin with E, and their attention's all over the place as a consequence. Years ago, I tried to encourage schools to introduce water into classrooms so we could hydrate and be in a better physiological state. Using the physical space, learners learn well when they're physically interacting with the environment around them. The primary school, forest schools movement is one of the best things I've seen. But we give all this coherence by designing learning in a learning model. Connect with what's already known, activate engagement, rather than give information to be regurgitated, the swallow and spit model. We provide problems to be solved, and we loop round in here. Lots of opportunities to demonstrate understanding, and towards the end we consolidate. What have we learned? How have we learned it? How will we use it? So we've got a coherence and a structure which in turn will deliver our 21st century outcomes. And our 21st century outcomes, what do we need to know to be great at learning, to be a great scientist, to be a great historian? What are the personal attributes and qualities of such people? What are the skill sets that are needed? What experiences should we provide? And what I'd say to you is this. When you bang the drum for learning, you do us all a favour, because in times of change, the learners are the ones who will inherit the earth, while the knowers will be beautifully prepared for a world which no longer exists. So my do is to ask you to be advocates for learning, less than advocates for performing, and my do is to carry on doing this and to carry on being nervous every time I speak. So thank you for that. Thank you for continuing to do that, and enjoy your conference.